You know, for what it's worth, I gotta say that it's a little crazy that instead of reviewing another member of Delta Squad, I am instead reviewing Clone Commando Gregor. It was definitely not on my bingo card that instead of getting Sev or Fixer, even in their Clone Wars style armor, we would instead be getting the most complex Clone Commando ever to be seen in canon. And yeah, one that no other company has yet attempted to do, primarily because from head to toe, this character is covered in a digital camo pattern that absolutely looks stunning. Hey everyone, it's Rustbelt Collector here, and today, of course, we're taking a look at the all-new Hot Toys 1/6 scale Clone Commando Gregor. Now, of course, we've technically reviewed this figure 3 times already. We've looked at the Imperial Security, we've looked at Commando Boss, and of course, Commando Scorch. So there's not a lot here that I'm going to go over in any detail as far as articulation goes or sculpt. You already know my opinions on this armor. It is kind of split 50-50 with it being, yes, animated and realistic mashed together, but also it's, you know, a 6th scale Commando Gregor, and it just looks so gritty and the colors look so vibrant that I just kind of ignore all of my gripes with the whole animated versus realistic interpretation, and I go, Clone Commando on my shelf. Oh my gosh. Now really quick, we just gotta take a step backwards and take a look at the packaging. It's your standard Hot Toys box art with your standard Clone Wars coloration, Commando Gregor down there, and of course the really ugly battery warning label there, which I guess I've never really attempted to take off. I assume that it just is like horrible to actually rip off, and yeah, it does not peel off easily. Behind that we have the slipcover, which looks absolutely stunning with this great promo photo of Gregor and that symbol just hovering in the background there. I don't think we ever learn what his unit symbol is meant to be or represent, but it's definitely cool, and I definitely wish we could see just even concept art of the other squad mates of Gregor. There's also a figure stand included with some nice scratching and weathering across the standard bulkhead floor plate that we've seen here, a nice chrome nameplate with Clone Commando Gregor emblazoned across there, and of course the figure cradle there as well. Now truly, when I say this figure is packed with paint deco from top to bottom, I mean it. This figure, I don't know if they hydro dipped it or if they had some sort of pad printer that was able to accomplish this effect, but truly from top to bottom, Gregor is covered in this digital camouflage, and it looks truly amazing. In the areas where he has the yellow-orange deco, there's also some nice speckling that just gives it texture and weathering. Something I always forget about his armor design is that he has these 3 logos across the armor in different areas, the other one being on his other bicep there, and those are so interesting and unique. Again, there's no lore behind them other than that it's just assumed to be his squad's markings. And there are presumably 3 additional members of his unnamed squad that we just never see, probably KIA in some previous Clone Wars battle. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know what the other squad mates looked like, and up to the best sculpted part of this entire figure, the Republic Commando helmet. This figure may lack some details overall in the body sculpting, but the helmet is where it's at. It is absolutely game accurate and just stunning to see here in full realization, with much more gritty deco than we've ever seen before. That is for certain. I love the way the pattern fades off as it reaches the top of his helmet, and of course removing the top of his helmet allows you to activate the visor, which glows in a very, very nice LED blue. One thing that I think they've improved here is either the paint deco or the plastic has been thickened, so you don't see the glow through here on the cheeks that we got with Boss and Scorch. This is the look of a proper Clone Commando. And of course he comes equipped with his standard DC-17 blaster rifle and a fully painted and removable magnetized backpack. The yellow striping and digital camo is all present there. Thankfully the backpack has a foam insert, which should prevent any paint wear from there, but I still am going to be a little extra careful with that placement just because that could wear over time compared to some of the other Clone Commandos. The backpack opens up, revealing a small storage area, which I'll probably keep his hands in there, as others have done, just because it is very convenient to have all of the accessories on the figure. Now Gregor only comes with a few hands to swap out, the opposite trigger and grip hand, the gesturing hand, and the pointing hand. I think they kind of trimmed down some of his accessories and options just because this guy is so jam-packed with deco. I have to imagine production cost on that side of things was just a little bit more, so we lost out on a few accessories and hands. I think that the deco overall makes up for that. Regardless of paint deco, of course, this is a Hot Toys figure, so the price is pretty up there in terms of collectibles and that sort of thing. I'm definitely more nitpicky with which ones I pick up as time goes on because they're not cheap and they aren't really getting any cheaper. And with Hot Toys often making weird decisions in terms of design and consistency, it does make it a little bit easier to say no to certain designs and then double down and say yes on other designs. Now, with this figure from Hot Toys being the only example of Gregor in any action figure form, it's a definite pickup, just immediate pickup. I honestly think that this figure will easily break into the top 10 figures of the year for me. I hate to put Hot Toys at the top of those lists just because Hot Toys by their very nature are high quality products, but this one is a personal favorite for me. The detail is everything here, and of course, it's the only time we've seen this character. I think that Hasbro back in the day had the perfect mold to make this figure on the Clone Wars boss mold. However, at the time, I just don't think that they were able to do this type of patterning in any sort of cost-effective way. Now, there is one more thing I wanted to talk about with this figure, apart from it being a fun figure and just one that I absolutely love having in the collection now. There is one more thing that could go to just make your display with Gregor all that much better. Now, I can't take full credit for this idea. It came from Box of Clone Trooper Lot over on Instagram, a great friend of the channel and someone who I've gotten a lot of ideas from. But for only $10, I was able to pick up the perfect addition to go alongside Clone Commander Gregor here. And that is the old 12-inch scale pit droid from Hasbro. And yes, I plan on repainting this little guy into WAC 47 from one of the worst Clone Wars arcs of all time. This little guy is dirt cheap to pick up. He's fairly articulated, some decent joint movement here and there, but really I'm just going to have him kind of posed very casually, standing on the shelf, and I'll get him repainted to be in that 91st Reconnaissance color. And all things considered, he scales pretty nicely alongside the 1/6 scale figures, so once he's repainted to be a little bit more weathered and just accurate, I think this will be a really nice addition to the collection. I know Hot Toys does make a pit droid as well, but I think that this is just a much better option. I want a cheap and affordable little accessory and not a full-blown Hot Toys figure to flesh out the display. So those are my thoughts on Clone Commando Gregor. I am really stoked to add this one to the collection. Hopefully it means that Fixer and Sev are on the way soon to complete Delta Squad. But for now, I'm really stoked to have two members of Delta Squad, the Imperial Security, and of course, Gregor. This one is definitely my favorite repaint they've done in that mold so far, and I hope they don't stop anytime soon. But let me hear what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Is this one that you picked up? Are you happy to see Gregor before we finish out Delta Squad? Or are you just not a fan of this Hot Toys mold in general? I know it's kind of controversial with that Clone Wars realistic mashup. Let me know down in the comments below, and as always, while you're down there, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and as always, thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening, noon, or night, depending on when you're watching this video, and as always, I'll be sure to catch you all in the next one.